I'm an artist. I go by the name 12 Drawings online. Chances are you have come to this video because you have some sort of interest in the Serenity Prayer. It's the one that goes, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, even if you're not a religious person, you've heard that prayer. It's a very popular prayer. It's one that's not really associated with any particular religion. It is often heard in 12-step recovery meetings, and I am a recovering addict. But this isn't really about the 12 steps, because the person who wrote the Serenity Prayer didn't have anything at all to do with 12-step recovery. If you want to look it up, his name is Reinhold Niebuhr. Now, the point of it is, when I say that prayer, I feel something that ties me back to sanity, sobriety, and serenity. That is the name of the prayer. And as an artist, I really didn't want to lose my connection to what that prayer brought to me. Now, when I want to remember something, I'm the kind of person that will look it up in a dictionary, and that's what I did in this case. The prayer is not very long, and I noticed it had just certain key words in it that seemed to be clear, but I was just curious. If I went and found a 1930s dictionary and looked up the words, which I did one day, randomly found one in an old used bookstore, and I flipped it open to the word God because I was curious. How would a dictionary define the word God? Would it be a highly religious definition? Would it be a certain denomination or church or religion? Well, it turns out when I see the definition from a Webster's 1934 dictionary, and that's about the time the prayer was written, the word God simply meant this: a being of more than human attributes and powers. A being of more than human attributes and powers. And that's it. Well, I didn't want to lose that definition. I thought if it was important enough that that's what it was meant in 1934 dictionary, and that's probably what the writer of the prayer meant when they wrote it, I wanted to remember it. Now, I said at the start, I'm an artist, pen and ink illustrator. So I created an image after some prayer and meditation myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to try to draw something that reminds me of this definition. Well, I can't draw God. I don't know how to draw God. But the prayer doesn't really define God. It just more defines what God is not. God is something more than human attributes and powers. And I thought about that, and I started drawing things that remind me of human attributes and powers. And I filled in around this empty space in the center of the screen, center of the page, with things that remind me of human powers. There's a calculator for mathematical power. There's a diploma for the power of education. Little wheat grains remind me of agriculture. There's an hourglass to remind me of the power of schedules and times. There's an apple to remind me of the power of food. There's a shot glass to remind me of the power for people who like to drink. They put a lot of faith and power in liquor, wine, alcohol. There are pills here for people who use drugs. There's a bullet here for people who rely on violence or gunfire as their source of power. There's yarn for people who enjoy knitting or crafts. There's a paintbrush for artistry. There's a tip of a sword. There's a drill for industry. There's a dartboard. There's a firecracker. There's a pair of scissors. There's a cigar standing for prestige, masculinity, whatever you want to say. There's a dollar bill standing for money. There's a spoon standing for food, or just the fineries of silver cutlery. There's a rose for romance. There's a cup of tea with a tea ball in it. There's a musical instrument. There's a scientific beaker. There's a stethoscope to stand for medicine. There's an American football to stand for sports. There's a crown to stand for royalty, which is a form of human power. There's even a tiny little microchip in there, which is the power of technology. So everything here, this evidently, apparently just random clutter, is actually a collection of human attributes and powers. So what is God? Not sure. But it's something more than all of these. And I represented it by having this white space that appears to be a hand, but in fact is simply the color of the white paper showing through, where I did not draw any human powers. And so it reminds me in sort of a non-religious way that if I start putting my faith in the power of money, the power of knowledge, the power of talent, of royalty, or anything else that's human, I'm probably not putting my faith in God. So this simply reminds me there may be some mystery. There's no drawing here. I'm an artist, but I can't draw God. I have no idea how to draw God, but I know how to draw a reminder to myself of what God is not, and that is a human power. There's more at 12drawings.com.